Fabulous. How are you guys?
Great.
I'm not used to seeing you without Stacy and Tony.
I
This is kinda
know.
unique.
I know. It's kind of different, huh?
She's cheating on her.
Oh, my goodness. She's cheating. Very good.
Chi,
Not
chi,
very
right.
good.
Chi to be,
Not
right.
so bad.
But before we get into the book mentoring, because obviously we had you guys on and we were plugging Occupy Your Life
Sure.
really well beforehand.
Yes.
Do you want to give like just a 2-minute wrap up about Occupy Your Life, and do you have another event coming up, and then we'll get into the book writing stuff?
Yeah. Occupy Your Life. We've done it twice now. It's been fabulously successful. We've got another one coming up October. We're looking at the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And, it's all about sort of turning your business around. The focus audience really is small business owners. It's about marketing, and it's also about increasing your confidence level in your thoughts, because your business growth can't happen any faster than your personal growth. And so we kind of marry the two together, and people come out of there absolutely changed and start doing amazing, wonderful things with their business, and they forget using the economy as the reason for things not happening.
Now, isn't there something unique about the event in October?
Something unique about the event in October.
Isn't it just women owners?
Yeah, it is. We're going to do women owners. And I think the reason for that is the last Occupy we did in June last month.
Right.
I did like a special session just for women on sort of the testosterone-free marketing stuff
Right.
that my book is about. And it was so incredibly well received. And I've been saying to Stacy, we need to do one of these with just women, because there's things that I say that if guys are in the room, women won't cop to it,
She's right. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
point.
So anyway, so that is what's going to be different.
Gotcha.
Is it's going to be just for women this
So
time
I guess
around.
I guess I have that event off in terms of a host. So I won't be working
you
that
might
one.
be able to work the clock again.
Yeah, that's right. That didn't work very well last
I
time.
don't know. You're so good at hosting. Maybe we could.
Well-
maybe we could fix you up with a little lip
I was
gloss
going
and
to say,
a wig
I
or
don't
something.
do well at dresses. Thank you very
You
much.
don't do well. I wouldn't think so.
All right, let's talk about your new
You're
venture.
perfect the way you are.
Thank you very much. My mama made me this way 48 years ago, and I can't change now.
And it's
so.
still working.
Oh, listen
it's
to this
still working.
love fest. I'm
Oh.
getting ooey gooey thinking
Ooey
about this.
gooey, ooey gooey.
All right, you have a group on Facebook called Writers of Nonfiction, which is sort of
That's right.
what's
It's gone
led
crazy.
to. Yeah, I mean, you've got a ton of.
I never saw anything take off as fast as that.
Yeah.
Those first week was just like, it was like, it kept increasing geometrically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like
I was typing
1,
my little
2,
buttons off.
4, 8, 16. I mean, it was just going
32,
nuts.
64,
Yeah, it went-
128.
It went nuts
Yeah.
those first few
It did.
days.
It did.
You're at almost 500 members now in the group,
That's
and it's
it.
only been up since
Maybe 3 months
Yeah.
tops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So tell us how this is leading into what you're doing with the book writing, and why book writing? Why do you recommend it?
Well, I'll tell you what. Writing a book is one of the most savvy, smart things I ever did. And from the time I was a kid, I wanted to write a book, but I was thinking it was going to be the great American novel. And 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I went to work with one of the guru author, speaker kind of guys, and I really learned quickly that nonfiction was the way to go. And the great thing about writing a book, especially if you provide a service in your business, rather than a product, a hard, lumpy
Right.
object, is that you get to position yourself as the expert. And so I've positioned myself as the expert of marketing for women
Right.
for the last 5 years now, since the book came out. And it's amazing. I mean, the speaking engagements, the clients, the opportunities, the being on shows like this, all of them I don't think would have happened to the extent that they have if I hadn't written the book. And so it's a fabulous business tool to write a book.
Now, as an offshoot to that, Cash, and you were kind enough to mention at the top of the show about the new blog that I created, bandwidthbanter.net, and that was actually a suggestion that Denise had given me to help promote what we do as just another outlet to help people realize that doing what we do is not rocket science.
No, it
And letting
sure
people
isn't.
know to come on is not a terrible thing, and this is what sort of launched that. Now, maybe someday we write a book about how to do your own internet radio show, who knows? But to write it down is really a great processor for the brain, is it not?
Oh, totally, totally. In fact, people always say, "Oh, I got the whole thing right in my head. I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's right in my head." And I say, "You know what? You can't put your head on the shelf at Barnes and Noble. Cannot." It's not going to happen. But the process of going through and outlining and having some support while you're doing it and outlining and, looking at the competition and what else is out there and how are you going to make your thoughts and ideas unique and special so it's not the same as all the other how-to personal growth type books out there. It's an amazing process, and it really, what ends up happening is people's confidence level goes up because they start noticing, wow, I really am good at this. I really do know what I'm talking about. I really got something to say that deserves to be in a book.
Absolutely. And that sort of makes you that what do you call the trusted authority
Exactly.
in your field, because
Yes.
hey, anybody who writes a book, you got to figure knows what they're talking about, right?
That's right. That's
Right.
right. And it's a fascinating thing because before I wrote the book, I knew the same stuff. All right. I was the same person,
Right.
the same factoid strategies, whatever. Now, things have changed in the last 5 years.
Sure.
But really, I knew the same things. And after I wrote the book, it was like, ooh, you wrote a book? Be on our show. Oh, you wrote a book? Do this. Oh, come speak at our event.
Right.
Yeah, I want to work with you. It's just, it blew me away.
Right.
It
It opens up the doors to more possibility.
it opens up the doors to more possibilities
Right.
in exponential ways.
Right.
Exponential ways.
Absolutely.
So, and there are some basics. You have to enjoy the process of writing. And I know there are people out there that say, "Oh, you can write a book in one weekend," and it's one of these crazy throwaway ebook sort of things. And I work with people who want to write the kind of book that, when it's like their dying day, the book is propped up there, next to the pastor or rabbi giving the eulogy. It's something that you're proud of and that you really feel good about and that represents you. That's the kind of book that I like to help people write.
It's interesting. I've met many authors throughout the years, and authors carry themselves differently than most people. They have an air of confidence about themselves after they've published a book and it's been successful. It's almost like they've accomplished what many of us are working towards on different levels.
Right.
But they I don't know, it's just the way they carry themselves, the confidence and the exuberance that they put into their aftermath, if you will. I always found it fascinating.
Well, it's kind of like a bottleneck. You think about people who come to the United States from another country. My husband's from India originally, right? They go through a bottleneck because there's so many obstacles. You got to learn a new language, you got to learn a new culture, all these things, and they're the people that are willing to go through that bottleneck to achieve the goal of living in America, becoming a citizen, and everything that means, the American dream. And it's the same thing with becoming an author. There's a lot of people who say, "I would love to write a book someday." But those people who are willing to go through the process and put their thoughts on the line, one of the things that I say to people in my group is I'll say, next time you walk into Barnes & Noble, what I want you to do is scan over all the shelves, look at everything that's there, and say, it is not humanly possible that every single person that wrote a book in here is smarter than you are. It's just not possible. You could do it too. And someone once told me while I was writing my book, I went to a workshop, and he said, if you can write a term paper, high school term paper, right? Not that we love that, right? But if you have the ability to do that, you can write a book.
I believe it.
I hated term papers.
But
I did too, and I love to
believe
write, but I
Right.
hated term papers.
Right.
And I think what you said before is that there are a lot of people out there that would love to write a book, but really don't know where to start, and when they do start, they don't know how to continue. So the whole idea of having a, quote, book mentor makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. It really does, because it's a process that the vast majority of the population are not at all familiar with how to do it. They might know how to write a sentence or a paragraph or an article, but writing a book is a completely different thing. And my focus is I work with people who are writing either how-to books. So it could be a book on exercise or fitness or a cookbook or feng shui or whatever, or the personal growth type books, because that's what I know.
Or host your own radio show.
Yeah, a book on how to host your own radio show. I don't do like people who are writing a children's story or poetry
Right.
or a mystery novel. You know, not because I don't value those kinds of books, but I don't know that genre
Right.
as well.
Okay. Questions are filing in here.
Oh, good.
Info on literary agents or copy editors. In other words, once the books are being written, I guess, is
Right.
that the after steps you're talking about?
Or during.
Or during.
Okay, all right, good. With nonfiction books, you put together what's called a book proposal, and you can start shopping literary agents once you've got about 2 chapters done.
Okay.
Okay. Copy editors, it really depends on your writing skills. I went through 3 rounds of editing. You know, one I did myself, which was largely a rewrite, and then I had a friend who was an English major, and then I had a professional book editor, you know, go through it the final time. But I didn't do that until I had a whole manuscript, because, you know, the chapters kind of blend together, and, you know, in chapter 2 I'm referring to something sort of foreshadowing that's going to happen in chapter 8, and so I wanted people to see the whole thing.
Gotcha. See, and I'm trying to take my blog through processes, and I'm wondering how they're going to turn into a book, because like you said, one of the questions I posted on the group page was, I would love to write a book on what we do, because there isn't anything out there. Where do you start?
Right.
Because, you know, when we talked about doing this 3 years ago, I went to the bookstores and I found a couple of books, but they were mostly excerpts within other books on how to do radio, not internet radio, because this is a whole new niche.
Sure.
And so that was my first question, where to begin? You know, it's like, it's such a new process. It's like, well, I know it here, but how do you put it in order?
I have a process where I help people create an outline that helps them organize their thoughts and their ideas.
I think that's major.
Right.
That is so major, because
Sure.
we do work better from outlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is kind of a goofy process. It's like you take these pieces of paper and you throw them up in the air and you grab the one that appeals to you. And so it's a very organic process. It's not like, you know, when you learned how to do an outline when you were in 5th grade English class. And,
1A,
right,
1B.
right. You know, journalism was one of my majors back in back in school, and marketing was the other one. And in fact, I worked with a gal who had 6 New York Times bestsellers. She was my book mentor. She's no longer doing it, but that was the person who mentored me. Plus, I worked with New York Times #1 best-selling authors, and they would have me read their manuscript before they sent it off to John Wiley and Sons or Simon
Gotcha.
and Schuster.
Gotcha. We're going to stop
Nice.
right there for a moment, take a quick time out. When we come back on the other side, you have some events coming up regarding
Yes.
book writing and stuff
Yes.
we want to let everybody know about. You're listening to Denise Michaels, book writing mentor, testosterone-free marketing author, #1 bestseller, with Phillips and Cash here on Vegas Unwrapped. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I just got buzzed in the ear. Before you went to
Yeah, I
break.
know, the
Holy
board just
crap.
went wonky.
Woo, hi guys.
Hi, how you doing?
Gary?
Yes,
And
Gary.
Connie. I'm Aaron.
Ricky. Ricky, how you doing? I told you.
And this is Denise Michaels.
Hi, Denise.
Hi,
Pleased
how
to
are
meet
you?
I've been the one answering your text messages.
Oh, okay. You're Aaron. Okay.
Oh, and Hawkeye Mark, our engineer.
Okay.
Hi.
One thing I always say to everybody when they're writing is don't get frustrated. There's going to be days you can't put a word to paper.
Yeah, and I tell people just go do something.